food assistance benefits not being sent out amid the ongoing government shutdown. We'll hear from the CEO of the Regional Food Bank of Northeastern New York on some options New Yorkers now have.
And later, we'll hear the latest on the situation in D.C., the progress on a deal to reopen the government.
Hello, welcome to Empire State Weekly. I'm John Gray.
And I'm Jamie DeLine. The ongoing federal government shutdown expected to impact those on the food assistance program, SNAP.
USDA announcing this week that benefits would not be sent out on November 1st.
The USDA blaming the lack of benefits on a lack of funds. The SNAP program is funded by the USDA, which is a federal entity, and with the government currently shut down, they are in a funding gap.
Trump administration says it will not tap into the contingency fund to keep that program going, explaining they are not legally allowed to do so.
Governor Kathy Hochul declaring a state of emergency this week, stepping in to fill that funding gap.
In addition, the New York Association of Counties sharing a message for New Yorkers who rely on SNAP.
You need to understand to check your email. Check your text messages, check your phone, your answering machine. There will be a message by New York State's Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance advising you if those benefits are going to be delayed. That message will go out on Saturday, November 1st.
Nearly 3 million New Yorkers rely on the funding that is expected to run dry on Saturday. To bridge the funding gap, an additional $65 million in state funding is being made available for food assistance. The money will be used to reinforce the state's food bank network and provide an estimated 40 million meals to New Yorkers.
The human cost of this shutdown is so real. It's not just a story you're seeing in the news. It is real. Real human beings are suffering.
The state is also deploying Empire State and SUNY Service Corps members to support local food banks who are facing expected staffing shortages and high demand. Joining us now to give additional insight on the impact of ending SNAP benefits, we have the CEO of the Regional Food Bank here in upstate New York, Tom Nardacci. Tom, thanks for coming in.
John, good to be here. Thanks for having us.
Tough to have your job right now because there's always a demand, but right now it's got to be a little crazy.
It really is. You know, this year we've seen as big of demand as ever. So things haven't slowed down since the pandemic, but need has just continued to go up, and especially this time of year, and especially with what's happening in Washington.
Now, 3 million New Yorkers are estimated to lose their SNAP benefits. How are you bracing for people coming to you and needing food?
Yeah, so first of all, we're grateful that New York State stepped up yesterday. The governor made a big announcement where she's injected more money into the charitable food system, so that's a big help. But as has been reported, it's certainly not enough. You know, no state can make up for the funds that come from the federal government with regards to SNAP. So we're planning to work with the state. We're also working with local governments, counties. You know, we have a meeting later today with Albany County to try to do some more localized action, but really try to get as much food as we can to get out to food pantries and soup kitchens and directly to neighbors in need. But this year we started at the beginning of the year with a big federal cut. You know, we lost about 5 million pounds of food from the USDA, so that put us already behind the 8 ball, and we've been trying really hard to make up that food with our food industry partners, our donors, rescuing more food from retail stores, but it's just the demand is just super hard to keep up with.
Now, are you getting a portion of that money that the governor allocated? How does that work?
Yeah, so the way that the governor's funding breaks down is a large portion of that money will go directly to a variety of food pantries. So the Regional Food Bank, for example, we serve about 1,000 agency partners throughout 23 counties. So that funding will flow through the food bank. It's called HIPNAP, the Hunger Prevention Nutrition Assistance Program. That money will be used by food pantries to buy food. The second part of that funding is for a program that New York State created during the pandemic called Nourish New York. That money goes to food banks and allows us to buy food from New York farmers and New York producers. It's a great program. It's a national model of how we keep food local. And so we're really grateful to get more money into that program so that we can get food locally, local farms, local producers, and get out to people in need.
For those who might not understand the difference between a food bank and a food pantry, from my understanding, food pantries are the ones people walk in and whatever the arrangement is, maybe they have aisles of food and things and they can take so much and fill a bag with their family. And a food bank, people don't just show up with bags and go in your building and take food. You supply to the various pantries?
That's right, John. So food banks, there's 10 in New York State. Each one has a service area. So the Regional Food Bank, we're primarily headquartered here in Latham, in the Albany County area, but we represent 23 counties, from Rockland County to the Canadian border. Then there's the Central New York Food Bank, Rochester, Buffalo. There's 2 food banks in New York City, so there's 10, and then each of us is a supplier to to the network of food pantries. We do directly distribute food though as well. So about 20% of the food we distribute, we do give out directly. So we have mobile programs where we go feed seniors, for example. We go to 65 senior housing sites ourselves once a month, and we host a pop-up food pantry.
Oh, okay.
Now, if someone's running out of money on their EBT card, what do you recommend that they do? What can they do?
Yeah, so I think, so number one is find your local food pantry. You know, every neighborhood, urban, rural, suburban, has food pantries. So find your local food pantry. For those in our service area, they can go to regionalfoodbank.net. You know, that's the Albany service area, but throughout the state, every food bank has listings of the pantry partners. So number one would be to find your neighborhood food pantry and go. And just show up. You don't have to make appointments. You can show up. Food pantries are set up to accept people, you know, on a as-needed basis.
You know, sometimes we in the media, and I think people too, looking at things on TikTok and social media, we blow right by a fact, and I keep hearing it over and over again in these stories. 42 million Americans are going to lose this, and 40. And if you pause a second or slow down, you go, wait a second, what number did you say?
Right.
Is this kind of putting a spotlight on food insecurity in this country, where people didn't realize maybe? Yeah, they knew there was need, but I mean, I'm hearing 1 in 7 or 8 Americans are on some kind of an assistance program. This is a big problem. Once we get past this, which hopefully Congress will figure something out, it's still going to be a problem.
100%. And you know, look, hunger is a bipartisan issue, right? This should not be in the spotlight in the way that it is. You know, if there is good to come out of it, is that people are waking up to the fact that there is hunger in their communities. And here's the level of need, put it in another perspective. Each year, the Regional Food Bank, we distribute over 50 million pounds of food. SNAP, in the same service area, SNAP is the equivalent of 30 million pounds of food in a month.
Wow.
So that's the level of need that's available in the community. And that's why the charitable food system can't sustain. When people say, well, just call, you know, go to your food pantry, they'll take care of it, don't worry about the federal government, it won't last. You know, there's not enough food in the food system to support, you know, the level of need that SNAP provides for.
And if people want to help, how do they go about doing so? Can they volunteer at their local food pantries? Should they donate food if they have extra? You know, what really can be done?
All of it. And I think that's the other thing that comes out of a situation like this. The response is immediate. You know, this crisis, the media highlighting it, you know, drawing attention to it. There are good people in this world. There are good people that are out there helping. People are calling the food bank. People are donating to the food bank. People are volunteering. So all of it. I think number one is find your local food pantry, make a donation. Make a donation to your local pantry. You know, your church. Make a donation to, you know, your local Y. Make a donation to, you know, keep it local as possible. Number two is volunteer. You know, all of these agencies need help. They need support. The food banks need help. We need support as well. Collect cans, collect goods, you know, drop them off. All of it helps.
We'll have to leave it there. Tom, good luck with everything that's coming in the next couple of weeks.
No, thank you so much. And, you know, we're bracing. It's been a we're very tired. You know, we've been through a lot, but we're really hoping that cooler heads prevail in Washington, and that they resolve this and stop their brinkmanship.
All right. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
As the government shutdown continues to have an impact around the country, attention now on lawmakers who could bring this whole thing to an end. When we come back, we'll hear from our Washington correspondent on what the big holdups are right now and what progress is being made, if any, on getting a deal done.
If you have a comment or story idea, let us know. You can email us at news@news10.com. You can also reach out on X at WTEN.
Welcome back to Empire State Weekly. The federal government has been shut down for over 30 days now, Republicans and Democrats intensifying the finger pointing as they fail to make a deal to open things back up.
I caught up with our D.C. correspondent Maddie Beard Temple to learn more about the shutdown. Hey, Maddie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So what is the vibe like down in Washington, D.C.? What are lawmakers telling you?
Well, right now, Congress is actually empty. The Senate left town yesterday after not passing a spending bill this week, and the House has been out of session since September 19th. So it's been dead, but we are seeing these daily press conferences from leaders of both parties basically blaming each other. We're seeing a lot of finger pointing going on about who's responsible for this shutdown, as we're now on approaching the longest shutdown in history. And both sides say the other is responsible. Democrats say Republicans haven't come to the table to negotiate over these Affordable Care Act subsidies that are set to expire at the end of the year, which is really at the center of this impasse. And Republicans say they will negotiate on that after Democrats vote to reopen the government. So we've been at this stalemate for the last several weeks so far, and there hasn't been any movement or progress that we've seen to indicate that this shutdown will end anytime soon.
I know here in New York, one of the big things we're talking about is SNAP benefits. About 3 million New Yorkers could lose those benefits. Is there any talk of that? What are you hearing from state or from federal leaders on that front? Any sort of compromise? Can they come up with a bill that Congress can sign off on for this?
Well, we have seen some bills proposed by both Republicans and Democrats to fund SNAP through the shutdown. Now, this is the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program that about more than 40 million Americans rely on for food assistance. And so both parties say they don't want to see that run dry come November 1st. And some of them have proposed these piecemeal bills to fund SNAP throughout the shutdown, but they haven't moved forward. Republican leadership says that they don't want to do these one-off bills because that could potentially prolong the shutdown. They want this whole government to be reopened. They don't want to pick program by program who is going to lose their benefits, who is not. And so we heard from House Speaker Mike Johnson earlier this week say that they don't want to take that approach, and they're calling for Democrats to vote on Republican spending bill.
I know here in New York, there's some Republican state lawmakers who are calling on Senator Chuck Schumer and Senator Gillibrand to just, vote in accordance with other federal Republican leaders. What's your sense on that? It doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
Yeah, we haven't seen any breakthrough on that so far. Keep in mind, there needs to be 60 senators to vote for this spending bill to reopen the government. And there are 53 Republicans in the House. So when you take the fact that there is one Republican, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, who's not voting for it, and there are 3 Democrats who have been consistently voting for this bill, Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, Nevada's Catherine Cortez Masto, and the independent senator from Maine, Angus King, they have been continuing to vote in the Senate for Republicans' bill, but that still doesn't get you quite to 60 votes. So there need to be about 5 Democrats who would change their mind and flip in order to hit that 60 vote threshold. And we did see the president post on Truth Social calling for Senate Republicans to do what's known as the nuclear option and basically change the threshold of votes from 60 to 51. So it's just a simple majority needed to pass this bill. That's something lawmakers in Congress haven't really wanted to do because when the shoe's on the other foot, when the other party has power, you don't really want to have them give just the simple majority to pass legislation. So we're still stuck in the Senate, still need those about 5 extra votes to change, and we haven't seen indicators yet that that could happen.
What's something that you think the American public doesn't quite understand when it comes to this shutdown?
Well, I think there's a lot of back and forth, both sides blaming each other about who's really responsible. But like I talked about before, it really comes down to 60 votes in the Senate. We've heard Democrats refrain that Republicans control the House, they control the Senate, and they control the White House. But Congress really has these mechanisms in place to ensure that a majority can't get everything they want all the time. So it might slow things down, but having that 60 vote threshold in the Senate does ensure that you need some buy-in from the other party in order to pass what you want. So while it can be frustrating for both sides and they can have their own talking points about who's really responsible, this is a mechanism in place that is supposed to kind of protect the legislative branch from allowing supermajorities or even just simple majorities to push through whatever they want. So it's a process that we've talked about a lot before, but it's something that's really kind of at the center of this funding fight. Is the need to get some people from the other party on board is something that has stymied Congress time and time and again, and that's really where we're at right now.
If you had to give an estimate on when the shutdown could end, do you have like a time frame in mind?
It's hard to say. We are on day 31 now. It's been a full month. The longest shutdown in history we've seen is 35 days, but as federal employees continue to miss paychecks, as air traffic controllers miss paychecks, people are growing more and more frustrated. And with these SNAP benefits running dry November 1st, open enrollment starting November 1st, we're coming up on a couple of deadlines that really could put the pressure on Congress to vote to reopen the government or to come to some kind of compromise, because very soon there's going to be constituents of theirs who may not be able to afford food, who may not be able to go without another paycheck. So the pressure is going to be growing on Congress for this to end. It's not clear how long lawmakers are willing to hold firm on their priorities, but it's going to be harder and harder as the days go on.
All right, we'll have to leave it right there and see what happens. Maddie Deer Temple, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
New York's congressional map is back in court. Details on the new lawsuit that could shift the state's political landscape. If you have a comment or story idea, let us know. You can email us at news@news10.com. You can also reach out on X at WTEN.
Welcome back. A redistricting lawsuit has been filed in New York City, looking to change New York's congressional map this coming as states around the country look to redraw their maps as Republicans and Democrats are fighting over more representation in the House of Representatives.
I caught up with a redistricting expert to learn more about these changes and what they could mean for the states. Two law groups recently filed a lawsuit on behalf of 4 petitioners who are suing the New York State Board of Elections and state government leaders over New York's current congressional map. They argue, quote, Black and Latino Staten Islanders have less opportunity than other members of the electorate to elect a representative of their choice and influence elections in New York's 11th congressional district. That district is currently represented by Republican Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis. Redistricting expert Jeff Weiss further explains the petitioner argument and how they'd like the new district to be comprised.
A new congressional district ought to be drawn in New York City consisting of Staten Island and Lower Manhattan, so that what you'd have would be a district that would be what's called a minority influence district, where Black, Hispanic, and Asian voters would be joined together in one district.
While the next election for congressional members is in November 2026, the congressional petition period starts in February.
So a big question is whether this lawsuit can be heard and decided in time to impact the 2026 elections, or whether it's something that's setting up for a longer period that might impact 2028 instead.
New York's last redistricting process took years. Ultimately, the maps had to be drawn by a court-ordered special master. The New York GOP has sharply criticized the new lawsuit, including Representative Malliotakis. She stated, quote, this is a terrible abuse of the legal process by an ultra-partisan Washington law firm that does the bidding of the National Democrat Party in an attempt to tilt the scale to give their party an advantage in next year's election. If the lawsuit succeeds, Democratic Representative Dan Goldman's current district, New York 10, would also be impacted. He stated, quote, New York 10 is my home, and I'll be running for Congress in my home district. If Staten Island is drawn into my district, then I'll be ready to step up and take the fight for democracy and a Democratic House majority to Nicole Malliotakis' doorstep. Early voting is underway in the race for New York City mayor. Polling locations are reportedly busy as city residents turn out to cast their ballot early. Early voting has been going on for a little over 7 days. Since the first weekend, over 160,000 people cast their vote, according to the Board of Elections. That's 5 times more than those who voted early in the last election. Demographically, early voters have been older than primary voters, with about 50% being 55 or older. The candidate speaking on how the demographics impact the election.
In the primary, the turnout was totally different than they thought. Much younger, and the younger vote was a much higher percentage. And that skewed all the polls.
Too often we think of affordability as a young person's problem, of whether you can build a life here. But there are so many who are asking themselves whether they can keep a life here.
Early voting continues through the weekend with Election Day on Tuesday, November 4th.
Stick around. Back with a look at the week ahead in just a bit.
If you have a comment or story idea, let us know. You can email us at news@news10.com. You can also reach out on X at WTEN.
Finally, in Empire State Weekly, we're keeping a close eye on the major headlines happening right now nationally. Recently, several NBA players and coaches were arrested in a massive legal gambling sting.
Here in New York, illegal gambling is investigated by the State Gaming Commission and the Attorney General's office.
Meanwhile, legal gaming regulations are overseen by the Inspector General. Next week, we'll take a look to talk with the IG's office on how the gaming regulations work right here in New York State. For now, from all of us here at Empire State Weekly, I'm John Gray.
And I'm Jamie DeLine. We'll see you here next week.
Don't forget, you can watch this show all over New York State. Here is the full schedule of Empire State Weekly on 10 TV stations across the great state of New York.